From the very beginning, we knew there was a huge cover-up going on, and it is still going on. How we know? Well, the more we are investigating, the more we're finding out about it. New information, new files, new photos, new evidence, new documents. Donald Trump right now is facing doomsday, quite literally. I want to play the video so that you can see for yourself, but before I do that, subscribe to my channel if you're not yet. Like this video, share this video, take a listen at what MeidasTouch is saying here, and then I will add my own comments.
Donald Trump just got the news he feared most regarding his cover-up of the Epstein files. His cover-up, as well as the horrific performing American economy right now, is crushing his poll numbers. They are at new lows, and this is at the same time that it has now been uncovered that Donald Trump is likely hiding still 98% of the Epstein files, even with the production of the 3 million or so documents that were previously produced a week or two ago. And even with the unredacted copies that are still redacted that Congress got to see, there likely exists 98% more documents, perhaps 50, 100 million documents that are still being covered up. And that makes...
Now, remember, the files that were released, 70 to 80% of them, according to Jamie Raskin, Representative Jamie Raskin, he said 70 to 80% at least are already redacted. So what you are seeing is actually a redacted version of the files, and it is still very, very shocking. We are seeing, even though with those redactions, the evil things that happen with pedo Jeffrey Epstein, and also Donald Trump, as we know, he's heavily involved in all of this.
Makes sense when you think about how widespread this Epstein class pedo sex trafficking ring is that Donald Trump is covering up. Here's what we're learning from Channel 4 News. A new investigation examining emails sent between federal investigators and prosecutors has raised fresh doubts over the Department of Justice's claim that it released a full cache of Epstein files, suggesting the material made public amounts to just 2% of the data gathered by agents. Channel 4 News from the UK goes on to say that federal investigators expected to process between 20 and 40 terabytes of data seized from Epstein's properties, including his Florida mansion, New York townhouse, and private island. Note that the feds did not even go to the area where some of the most despicable conduct was taking place, which was the New Mexico ranch, the Zorro Ranch. The broadcaster added that the emails between investigators discussing the data totaled up to 50 terabytes from the earliest stages of the investigation as of June 2020. To me, that means we're talking about 100 million documents, folks.
Wow.
So let's talk about Donald Trump's crashing approvals right now. Here's how it was just described moments ago by Harry Enton. Here, play this clip.
Through and through. Let's take a look at another president, though. President Donald John Trump. Look at this. I got 4 numbers across for you on this screen here. They are all second-term lows for the given pollster. What are we talking about? AP New York, 26 points below water. NBC, 22 points below water. Yahoo YouGov, 20 points below water. Quinnipiac, 19 points below water. So we're ranging from negative 19 points all the way to negative 26 points. You know, Kate, there's this question that folks keep asking. You know, where is the floor for Donald Trump? And I'm not sure there is a floor, because if there is one, Donald Trump, at least in term number 2, has just fallen through it to another low level.
How does this compare with his first term, and how does this compare with Joe Biden?
Okay, so we look at these numbers right here. One of the things that Donald Trump had been arguing, his proponents have been arguing, oh, you know what, he's doing better than he was doing in term number 1. No longer is that the case. What are we talking about here? Okay, net approval rating at this point in the term. Look at this. 22 points below water on average when you average all the pollsters from the last slide. That is actually lower. That is lower than he was at this point in term number 1 when it was 17 points below water. So he's doing 5 points worse, 5 points worse, and he's doing way worse than Joe Biden was doing at this point in his term number 1 when he was 13 points below water. So the bottom line is this. Donald Trump is setting new records for himself in term number 2, setting new records for himself compared to where he was at this point in term number 1, and he's doing worse than Joe Biden, which is, of course, a comparison that Donald Trump does not want to be, because we all know what happened to Joe Biden. His party lost the House in term number 1, that midterm elections, and of course, Joe Biden was not reelected to another term. At this point, the numbers are no bueno for the president of the United States.
What's driving this that you're seeing right now?
Okay, Kate. You know what? This is the segment. We have done it over and over and over again because he keeps setting new lows for himself. What are we talking about? Well, we're talking about independence. We're talking about independence. When you lose the center of the electorate, you lose the American people. Trump's net approval rating among independents, you know, at this point, you go back term number 1, he was 17 points below water. Now, according to Quinnipiac, he is 27 points below water. I don't understand how this works out well for the president of the United States. When you are 27 points below water, underwater, with the center of the electorate, with independents, you lose, your party loses. You know, I've made the comparisons before, you know, oh, he's more underwater than Greg Louganis. I've made the comparisons with all those different divers. And the bottom line is this, you can continue to make those, but over time, when you keep making those same comparisons, they run a little bit old. But at this point, I don't really know who to even compare Donald Trump to, because he's just so low, and he's so low with the center of the electorate.
Can only be compared to himself.
That's correct.
Harry, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now,
unbelievable, unbelievable stuff. He can only be compared to himself. This is the same guy, Donald Trump, who would tell you, oh, these poll numbers they're fake. MAGA, they will tell you, we don't believe these poll numbers. But these are the same numbers that Donald Trump used in his 2016 election campaign when he was running against Hillary Clinton, to show to his fan base and to the American people that he is doing very well in the poll. Every time he will be busted with his lies, he'll be like, I'm doing good with my poll. And now he will say, oh, these poll numbers, yeah, they're fake, they're make up. I mean, this guy is pathetic.
Donald Trump doing today on President's Day as he's freaking out? Well, he's sending emails like this to try to grift and raise money. This is Dr. Donald J. Trump. I've come to save the day. Read the memo. You might have noticed your Trump sustaining membership is on life support. Please renew ASAP before it's too late. Even CPR won't bring it back. And I think this is important for you to know, in addition to the fact that he's pretending to be a doctor. A lot of the people who he tries to trick are elderly people. I've called his email schemes elder abuse before. So when he's saying you're on life support and Dr. Donald J. Trump is saying you need to give me money, that's also the targeted audience as part of his scam as well. Also, just in this morning, as Josh Gerstein reports, Judge Cynthia Rufy, George W. Bush appointee, cites Orwell's 1984 as she orders Trump administration to restore slavery-focused panels at the site of Washington's Philly House. The feds are wiping away the history of the greatest founding fathers management. So here's what Judge Rufy says. Again, George W. Bush appointee. She starts with a George Orwell quote. All history was a palimpsest, scraped clean and rescribed exactly as often as was necessary. In no case would it have been possible once the deed was done to prove that any falsification had taken place. George Orwell, 1984. As if the Ministry of Truth in George Orwell's 1984 now existed, with its motto, ignorance is strength, this court is now asked to determine whether the federal government, under Donald Trump, has the power it claims to dissemble and disassemble historical truths when it has some domain over historical facts. It does not. And the court ruled against the Trump regime. Donald Trump this morning is also ranting and raving, as we've now uncovered that 100 million documents, perhaps in the Epstein files, are still not produced. Here's what Donald Trump is posting. I'm opposed to the future boondoggle known as Gateway in New York, New Jersey, because it will cost many billions of dollars, more than projected or anticipated, much like Gavin Newsom's Railroad to Nowhere, which is many times over budget. It's a disaster. Gateway will likewise be financially catastrophic for the region, unless hard work and proper planning is done now to avoid insurmountable future cost overrun. Please let this statement represent the fact that under no circumstance will the federal government be responsible for any cost overruns, not $1. The federal government is willing to meet, however, to make sure that this does not happen. Also, the naming of Penn Station, I love Pennsylvania, but it is a direct competitor to New York, and eating New York's lunch to Trump Station was brought up by certain politicians and construction union heads, not me. It's just more fake news. Remember, Donald Trump has been withholding funding for the Gateway project, which New Yorkers, New Jersey, and people from Connecticut are saying, we need this project. What the hell are you doing? And Trump's like, but you got to name it after me. You got to name it after me. You know what's interesting? With Donald Trump freaking out this morning, and the big case out of Philadelphia where a George W. Bush judge just ruled against Donald Trump.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he can freak out. He can lose himself. It doesn't really matter at this point of time. What really matters is the truth. And the truth is that Donald Trump did something horrible in the past. He's still committing these crimes in his during his presidency, withholding funds, not allowing elderly care, Medicaid, Medicare, all of these things are being cut. I mean, and at the same time, guys, he's cashing billions of dollars, he's pocketing billions of dollars, his family, including Melania Trump and Barron Trump, all of these people, they're making like fortune during his presidency. And the only people who are suffering, the only people who are paying for all of this are the middle class, working class, the taxpayers. This is unbelievable, and this must stop.